Good evening. Hope everybody is doing well. Yeah, I looked down at my phone just to realize that it's been spying on me again. I guess it was yesterday, I think. I was talking to some folks about pest control, and I couldn't remember the name of that device that you hook up to a propane tank, and it's like a mosquito trap, more or less. And Mosquito Magnet is like the big well-known brand name of them. And so, anyway, I was Googling it so I could remember, I could find out the big well-known brand name of them. And anyway, so I just looked down at my phone and they're trying to sell me Mosquito Joe. Family Fun Time Outdoors. Anyway, might as well be them giving me a deal, because wow, have you been paying attention to what's going on? It's insane. I don't think, honestly, it's going to get any better. However, though, the good news is there is some prime prepper property that just popped up, and so I wanted you guys to have first dibs on it. And so it's one bedroom with AC on an open lot, $180,000. So looks like it's a beautiful view, and I would say that's probably about going rate for prices these days. Anyway, get switched back. Enough with my nonsense. I just happened to see that. I mean, literally, as I was talking to you, scrolling, I seen that, and I thought, oh, I gotta mess with that. Anyway, lots of news all over the place today, and I've got quite a few tabs open for you, and most of them are to do with the... At least it's not all war stuff, but it's really starting to get concerning, the between shortages, inflation, and all of that stuff. Watching this unfold, I knew it was going to be ugly, but it's starting to seem like it's going to be even a little uglier than what I was thinking. I could be wrong. I don't know. This is why we prep. So when it does get ugly, hopefully it won't stay ugly, and either way, at least have a bumper to be able to get by until you figure out what the hell next, Pardon me. Everybody's prepping plans are a little bit different. Some people already have homesteads going on and stuff like that. So if you don't already have a homestead in full swing and all that, doesn't mean you're out of it. It all depends. Everybody's situation is particular to them. And so that's why I like it here. There's plenty of land, good farmland. Plenty of water, so it's not like somewhere that's going to have water shortages or anything like that. There's just a ton of reasons why I particularly like this area. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I've got a ton of not a ton, but I don't know, maybe upwards of 10 tabs open for you, and 9 or 10, and we'll start off with one a little bit lighthearted. I figured might as well. This is kind of an interesting story, and I got a good chuckle out of it this morning when I read it. You get switched back over to web view here. Tennessee couple wakes to find a stranger's dog in their bed. So anyway, the story goes, a Tennessee couple recently woke up to find a dog in their bed, but much to their surprise, they soon realized it wasn't one of theirs. This is the weirdest post I have ever had to make. Is this your dog? Julie Johnson asked on Facebook after finding the pooch earlier this month. Julie and Jimmy Johnson of Ocoee, Tennessee, and I probably said that wrong, own 3 dogs, so it's not unusual for them to wake up with a dog in their bed. On Sunday, though, the scenario played out a little differently. It's absolutely normal to wake up in our house with one of our dogs in bed with us, Julie Johnson wrote in the Facebook post, along with photos of the mystery dog. One small problem, this is not our dog, nor do we know how she got in our house. Johnson said her first reaction was concern, but she soon realized the dog was friendly. At first we thought it was one of ours, but they rarely lay on the pillows. In pitch darkness, I just assumed it was, wouldn't we all? As daylight began to creep in through our curtains, we realized we were snuggling with someone else's dog. Johnson learned via Facebook that the dog's name is Nala and that she lived almost 2 miles away. In a pup date to her original post, Johnson said Nala's mom was coming to get her. Good luck getting her out of my bed, Johnson added. Johnson theorized that Nala became frightened by a recent storm which prompted her to seek shelter inside her house. Why my dogs didn't bark at her, no clue. They bark at everything, she said. Maybe they knew she needed help too. Nala's surprise visit gained some major attention on social media and was even covered on Good Morning America. I never thought my time to shine and make people smile would be laying in bed with a strange dog in my nightgown with unbrushed hair and sleep in my eyes, she wrote. Johnsons have kept in touch with Nala since discovering her in their bedroom. On Tuesday, they met up with her for a puppy play date. We had ice cream and treats and had a fantastic time, Johnson said. So, anyway, I thought that was kind of a cute story to start out with. That's a good picture. I like that. Gorgeous dog. Yeah, that would definitely make for an interesting morning. Oh man. Howdy. That's awesome. You're from Russia. I don't even begin to know how to say your name, and I apologize for that. Gosh, I wouldn't even know where to begin on that. Let's see. Oh, yeah. This is a little story. Government will give away 1 million cannabis plants, says the media. Now, not the U.S. government, right? They'll give you out a crack pipe, though. Right? Right? I mean, Joe delivered on the crack pipes, but no weed. Anyway, Thailand Health Minister Anutin Chan, I can't say that name either, Charnvirakul, I'm sure I'm way off, announced that the national government will distribute 1 million free cannabis plants to households across the country in June to encourage Thais to grow marijuana at home, CNN reported on Wednesday. The news follows the kingdom's decision in January allowing its citizens to grow cannabis plants at home after notifying their local government. The plant, however, can be only grown for medical purposes, and cannabis cannot be distributed commercially without an appropriate license. The new rule will come into force on June 9th. Thailand's cannabis advocates have argued that allowing households to grow the plant at home will help predominantly agricultural nation boost its economic recovery after the COVID pandemic. This will enable people and the government to generate more than 10 billion baht per year in revenue from marijuana and hemp, argued the health minister. People can showcase their cannabis and hemp-related products wisdom and sell their products nationwide, he added, urging Thais to grow as many cannabis plants as they like. Hang on. Said while most of its neighbors have strict drug laws, in 2018 the Kingdom of Thailand became the first South Asian nation to legalize medical marijuana. Since then, it has been legal in Thailand to sell cannabis products with less than 0.2% THC, the psychoactive compound in marijuana. Recreational use of the drug is still outlawed in the country. So hold up, back up. This health minister is saying that his thoughts are that this is going to help boost their recovery from the pandemic, right? And that, generating more than 10 billion baht per year, right? And even said, specifically said, people can showcase their cannabis and hemp-related products wisdom and sell their products nationwide. Wait a minute. Up here it says the plant, however, can only be grown for medical purposes and cannabis cannot be distributed commercially without an appropriate license. So, and I'm sure they're not just going to give anybody that shows up a license, right? It just cracks me up. Oh, we're going to give you the freedom to do this, but you got to beg us. And we might give you a piece of paper saying it's okay. Maybe. Okay. Next. Japan's debt soars to historic high. This economic issue, this rut that the world is in, it's just that. It's the world. The entire planet is in an economic rut right now. And nobody, other than the banks, of course, the banks are doing great, but as far as countries, as far as citizens, or any, other than the top 1% or what have you, top 1%, 3%, whatever, other than that, we're all pretty screwed. So it's really crazy as I watch these headlines come in throughout the day, because this is hitting everywhere. It is absolutely everywhere. It says here Japan's national debt has hit a new record high, reaching 1,241 trillion yen, or about $9.55 trillion in the fiscal year 2021, which ended in March. The Kyodo, I guess that's Kyodo, news agency reported on Tuesday, citing data from the country's finance ministry. The country's debt currently stands at approximately 266% of Japan's annual GDP, up roughly $190 billion from the previous year. Last year has become the 18th consecutive year when Japan's debt has risen, and the 6th year in a row when it broke previous records. National debt, or the so-called government's long-term debt, comes from the government borrowing funds to make up for budget deficits when expenses exceed revenues. It eventually has to be repaid from collected taxes. Near 90% of Japan's debt comes from government bonds. Analysts say the buildup of Japan debt has been brought about by problems with the Japanese Social Security system, imagine that, and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the country's economy. Can't possibly expect me to believe that the Social Security system could fail. Hogwash. Canada is also looking at baby formula problems. This seems to be a quickly growing issue, largely for those that have that need to get the special types of formula, but it is starting to really take hold across the board with formula. And sadly, from my understanding, there are multiple recipes going around online, and some of them are not a good idea. So make sure that you really do your due diligence when you research what it is that you prepare to store back just in case, right? Because from my understanding, some of these recipes that are going around online are actually dangerous. So make sure you know what you're doing. I'm not personally going to give any advice because I don't know what is what, and make sure you do your homework on it. This here says baby formula supply shortages in the U.S. have started to have an effect on Canadian families, which are now struggling to procure breast milk substitutes. A baby food crisis recently hit the U.S. as already existing supply chain issues were exacerbated by major product recall by Abbott Nutrition, which voluntarily pulled from shelves 3 of its brands of powdered baby formula after reports of bacterial infection and illness among infant consumers, including 2 who died. In the U.S., nearly 40% of infant formula is now out of stock in over 11,000 stores. That's a big problem, according to reports by online retail analyst Data which has led to increased demand for the product, as some retailers have even introduced rationing to combat hoarding. While major Canadian retailers say they haven't been experiencing widespread shortages yet, smaller store chains have reported issues with stocks. The national spokesperson for the Retail Council of Canada told local media that some stores have struggled to maintain a steady supply of formula since 2021. Loblaws, a supermarket chain in Canada, has stated that supply chain issues and Abbott recall have left holes in its shelves and affected its ability to stock certain kinds of formula, CBC reports. The company noted, however, that it had so far managed to find alternatives and procure formulas from other vendors. And I'll just one more here. Nevertheless, some Canadian families are still finding it increasingly challenging to secure alternatives to Abbott's hypoallergenic formula, and sometimes end up having to drive hundreds of kilometers or even across the U.S.-Canadian border to procure the product for their children. And I'm sure that the formulas that they're talking about are the ones that are commonly used for like colicky children. And if you've ever had or been around a colicky child, you know how important that medicine is. Because I'm telling you, they can't have just any old baby formula. It's not a matter of just get over it, just whatever. No. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't any alternative remedies or any. I don't personally know any. And I, don't know enough that I would feel comfortable advising anything anyway. But I do know for a fact, having had a child that dealt with colic, that, it's important. And the U.S. is kind of towards the end of the tabs I have open, if anybody's wondering. How come you haven't mentioned anything about the title of the show yet? Hang in there. Ninth EU country sees inflation jump to double digits. Wow, now I can't talk, though, so. Hang on. Actually got the air on right now. Like you care. No, it's still showing 84 outside, so after the show I'll open them back up. It got up to it made it to 93, didn't it? 93, 94. So I called Uncle. Let's see. Okay. It says here Greece is the latest EU country to be hit with double-digit inflation, reaching the highest level since 1994. Inflation in the country surged to 10.2% year-on-year in April from 8.9% the previous month, according to the Hellenic Statistical Authority. That's a hell of a name. The largest increases were registered in the cost of natural gas, 122.6%, electricity at 88.8%, diesel fuel for heating at 65.1%, fuel lubricants 29%, and solid fuels at 5.3%. Food basket products have also risen in price. In particular, prices for oils and fats surged 22%, meat products 14.1%, and vegetables 13.8%, which means Joe Biden costs 13.8. Dairy products and eggs jumped in price by 11.7%, while the cost of bread and cereals grew 10%. Prices for fresh fruit and even coffee, cocoa, and tea raised 7.1%. Apart from this, transportation, accommodation, restaurants, automobiles, hey, they put that in there twice, and even cinema tickets also showed price increases of various degrees. With inflation surpassing 10%, Greece became the 9th country in the Eurozone in which official inflation has reached double digits, following Bulgaria 10.5%, Slovakia 10.9%, the Netherlands 11.2%, Czech Republic 11.9%, Poland 12.3%, Latvia 13.2%, Lithuania 16.6%, and Estonia 19%. That's why I'm saying the whole world's titty is in a ringer. Like, it is really that bad. Britain's facing real food poverty, a supermarket giant warns. The chairman of major British supermarket Tesco, John Allen, said that many in the country are struggling with the increasing cost of food and fuel due to inflation, as quoted by the Times on Tuesday. I was in some Tesco stores on Friday, and I was hearing for the first time for many years of customers saying to checkout staff, "Stop when you get to £40. I don't want to spend a penny over that," Allen said. I think that many of them are struggling to both be able to heat their homes and to feed their families, he continued. I think we're seeing, real food poverty for the first time in a generation. The Tesco boss expressed hopes that the government would step in to reduce the strain on those struggling to make ends meet. Allen suggested that the government could reverse course on a planned payroll tax hike. He also called for reforming rates relief, saying that many smaller shops face going out of business as consumers cut back on spending. This month, the Bank of England issued a dire warning saying that Britons would suffer a historic shock to their incomes as it expects the record high inflation to continue rising. The central bank also said that the cost of living crisis could plunge the economy into recession this year. And again, I'll reiterate, this is happening all over. Sip of coffee. We'll bring it home a little bit. U.S. consumer prices spike even worse than expected. Says prices of consumer goods continue to soar across America. The latest official print of the Consumer Price Index confirmed on Wednesday, showing price growth at 8.3% over the last 12 months as of April. This marks the 11th straight month of inflation registering over 5% and exceeds the 8.1% expected by economists polled by Dow Jones, cited by the CNBC. The sharpest cost increases came in the categories of shelter, food, airline fares, and new vehicles, and while the index for energy declined, the American Automobile Association revealed on Tuesday that the price of gasoline had hit record highs. Making matters worse, the Bureau of Labor Statistics revealed that average hourly earnings for workers declined 2.6% if adjusted for seasonal factors and inflation since last April. With inflation at its highest rate in 40 years, on top of so many other benchmarks presaging economic turbulence, I've never heard that word before, and no clear solutions emerging from the White House, Americans are reporting higher taxes of financial anxiety than in previous years. While Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have categorically refused to shoulder any of the blame for the price spikes that have Americans more worried about their finances than they have been in years, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg tentatively acknowledged on Tuesday that the generous stimulus spending by the administration of President Joe Biden might have helped unleash the steep inflation currently gripping the U.S. Well, no kidding. You know, the frustrating thing is how many of us, it wasn't just me, not even remotely, how many of us have been calling out so much of this over the last 2.5 years. And of course, every time we were wrong, according to the establishment. It's crazy. Talk about clown world. UN issues drought disaster warning. Droughts have increased 29% in the space of a single generation, according to a paper the United Nations released on Wednesday, which observed that the problem is rapidly accelerating. By the way, if you haven't seen like Lake Mead and stuff like, oh my goodness, I don't know what they're going to do. I have no idea. I don't know the names of the other ones over there. I know there's Mead and there's Powell or something like that. They're hurting. I mean, they're starting out hurting. When I say starting out, I mean, of course, summer. Anyway, this goes on to say, released to coincide with the 15th annual conference of parties held by the UN Convention to combat desertification. I've never heard that before, but okay. The Drought in Numbers 2022 report reveals that droughts comprise just 15% of natural disasters, but account for 45% of disaster-related deaths, along with an encyclopedia of other disturbing statistics. From 1998 to 2017, droughts cost the world $124 billion, the report found. They also took some 650,000 lives between 1970 and 2019, and the report warns that over 2.3 billion people are currently living in water-insecure conditions, including 160 million children. In the U.S. alone, drought-related economic losses have amounted to $249 billion since 1980. Worsening drought conditions will put upwards of 700 million people at risk of becoming climate refugees by 2030 if something is not done to address the issue, the report warns. By 2040, a quarter of the world's children will live in places with extreme water shortages, and by 2050, it will be full-on water world oh, no, I started making stuff up. Over 3/4 of the population could be similarly affected. While 3.6 billion people currently live in areas where water is scarce for at least 1 month out of the year, that figure could increase to 4.8 billion, or even as much as 5.7 billion by mid-century. Sorry, I couldn't resist throwing that in there. I know. Biden's disinformation chief wants to edit people's tweets. I mean, what's wrong with that, right? Why not just give it all to him? Nina Jankowicz, director of President Joe Biden's newly created Disinformation Governance Board, otherwise known as Ministry of Truth, has called for enabling blue-check Twitter users such as her to help police commentary on the social media platform by allowing them to edit tweets that they consider to be false or misleading. Jankowicz made her comments in a viral video that surfaced online on Tuesday after lamenting that many verified Twitter users don't deserve to have blue check status because they aren't trustworthy, she said. So verified people can essentially start to edit Twitter the same sort of way that Wikipedia is, so they can add context to certain tweets. So they want to turn Twitter into like Twitterpedia, right? Man, that's insane. That is insane. There would be nothing. There is nothing right now at this particular moment. There's not much that's safe as far as history or anything else with the way that they're erasing. Anyway, and this certainly isn't good news. Hang on, I've actually had several articles come out while I've been doing the show, and I've been just kind of tweeting them out as they come in. As you see here, U.S. drug overdoses break record. I wasn't surprised by this. More than 107,600 Americans died from drug overdoses last year, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention revealed on Wednesday. The record-setting figure, driven by fentanyl and other synthetic opioid abuse, represented a 15% increase over the previous year's 93,655 overdose deaths. The massive number is the highest recorded since the CDC began keeping track of overdoses, representing a whopping one overdose every 5 minutes across the U.S. However, the rate of increase has slowed by half since the previous year. Overdose deaths surged between 30% between 2019 and 2020. The largest increase was seen in Alaska, where drug-related deaths soared 75.3% over the previous year. Synthetic opioid fentanyl, 50 times as potent as heroin, remained the primary culprit in the vast majority of overdoses, present in nearly two-thirds, 71,238, of the casualties, a 23% uptick from the previous year. Methamphetamine was a distant second, appearing in 32,856 cases, though at 34%, the rate of increase was steeper than that seen for fentanyl. Some 24,538 of the dead had taken cocaine, while just 13,503 had taken prescription pain medications, the drugs primarily responsible for kicking off the U.S. opioid epidemic over 2 decades ago. So, and don't expect that to get any better, because as times get harder, people tend to abuse more. And you really won't see a big slack in illicit drug sales, but you will alcohol sales. And I've said this a million times. With the economy, what you want to keep an eye on, failing, 2 major things: entertainment and alcohol. And we've already seen entertainment fall. Now we're just waiting for alcohol. When you start seeing alcohol sales drop, we're done. When people can't afford to feed their habit, I'm telling you, this is something that I can't even remember who it was that pointed it out to me, but they pointed it out to me and showed me, case after case after case, country after country after country, that when economies fail, there's a pattern, and that pattern is alcohol sales will rise. Entertainment sales for a while will continue to rise, right? But then your entertainment sales will fall off because people just don't have it, right? And then not long after that, you'll see the alcohol sales make a steady decline or steep decline, because it's not that they don't have the habit or they don't want to drink. They literally don't even have the money for alcohol. And when times get that bad, that is typically when, literally, like right before it falls. So that's what I was told by somebody that I believe knows what they're talking about. And that's just something I've always kept an eye on. So, but you won't so much see the illicit drugs, and the reason why I say that is because there are a lot more payment options with illicit drugs than what there is at your local liquor store. Okay? Well, in most cases. Maybe not in all cases, but in most cases. Layaway plans. I'll quit. Maybe. Alright, let's do some headlines. Get out of here before I tell more bad jokes. Because I got tons of those. Former Twitter CEO reacts to Musk plan to unban Trump. U.S. House approves $40 billion in Ukraine aid. White House responds to idea of labeling Russia as sponsor of terrorism. Russia accuses Lithuania of extremism. A veteran journalist killed in West Bank. U.S. angers China with Taiwan mission. Victory Day flowers stir conflict between authorities and residents in Baltic country. EU has no solution to fix damage from Russian oil ban, says Hungary. Ukraine blocks Russian gas flow to Europe. Ukrainian army westernized by the U.S. and allies to fight Russia, says the Pentagon. Apple drops iconic device. They're getting rid of the iPod. Let's see. Kremlin comments on prospect of part of southern Ukraine joining Russia. Germany signals massive drop in Russian gas supply. Musk brags about resisting Russia. No plans for martial law in Russia, says Kremlin. China accuses West of encouraging arms race. UK signs security agreements with Sweden and Finland. Russia demands apology from Poland. Swiss court rules on Nord Stream 2. Ukrainian nuclear workers sacked for Victory Day celebrations. Let's see. EU's plan to quit Russian gas may come with a hefty price tag, says a report. Cheap alternative to Russian gas is found, says Bulgaria. Syrian scenario is possible in Ukraine, Russia warns. Let's see. Banning abortion is bad for the economy, says the U.S. Treasury chief. Just reading the headlines. U.S. Democrats use Ukraine biolab profits for campaign funding, says Russia. Fatal shelling from Ukraine shakes Russian village. Russia names EU countries linked to Ukrainian biolabs. Ukraine's biochemical efforts targeted children and the mentally ill, Russia says. Billionaire says Americans avoid work unlike the Chinese. I believe that was Elon that said that. UN issues drought disaster warning. Oh, I covered that. West pondering oil buyers club to pressure OPEC. U.S. Republicans bicker over Ukraine proxy war funding. Youth gun ban ruled unconstitutional. And lastly, U.S. reveals rules on sharing intelligence with Ukraine, says the media. Well, there you go. Those are the headlines. I actually got done quicker tonight than I thought I would. I thought getting through all those tabs was going to take me a bit longer. Man, I'm a broken record, folks. Just keep working and getting ready. I don't know what else to say. Make sure you try to encourage those around you to get ready, because the more ready they are, the longer it'll be before they come knocking on your door. Like I said at the top of the show, this is, in my opinion, this is concerning. And I don't say that to intend to cause fear or panic but please do something. Please. No matter what it is. I wouldn't be so concerned if we had people in certain positions in this country that were actually concerned about the people in this country. But I don't see a lot of it in the government. I don't see a lot of it in the corporate world. It's all nothing but money and favors. And I don't see that changing even in dark times. I don't think they're just going to magically start caring about us. Just keep continuing to get ready. Keep making those connections and friendships, relationships with those people most important to you. And remember who those people are. I've said this over and over. Maybe different than what you might be thinking right now, but the people that are most important to you are the people that are in walking distance. Whoever that may be. But keep that in mind. Anyway, I am going to get out of here. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow and wrap up the week. I hope you all have a good evening. I hope to see you tomorrow. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.